Hello everyone, this is IROCTHS here, back again with the Building a PT model series. Today we are going to go through the first of three parts of actually building out the model, so simulating the outcomes for all the players in the format. We're going to start with pitching today. Normally we started with batting in the previous videos. The reason I'm starting with pitching today is we can do pitching from start to finish in one episode. Batting, you really want to do fielding to finish that off to get the full value, because there's a lot of guys that they get pushed over the edge by their fielding. So we really do want that that fielding portion in there for those players. So we're going to start with the pitching this time, and then we will do batting next time, and then fielding at the end. Now, something I'm going to start off with here in this video, I'm going to re-export the card list. This isn't something I do every time, but it is something I do when I know that my model is trained on an older set of cards. So I captured this this data back in December, and it's January, close to February when this comes out, and Paul has been releasing a ton of Iron cards in the last few weeks. So I really do want to get all those new cards into this model, but I wanted to train on the older data set. This is also something I do when I know I've got a live update coming out, or when I do update it, when I don't need to retrain a model, but I do need to update it for newer card releases. I go ahead and just re-export the card model and then put that in there in the or re-export the card list, put that card list in the model, and then just re-simulate everything, recalculate everything, and then that's my new model. If I don't need to update the regressions or anything like that. So what we do for that is we're going to come over here to the card shop, and you're going to go ahead and click this export card list to CSV, and it's going to export it to your out of the park install folder. Mine's in on my D drive, and it's going to go to the data online data pt card list.csv. So last time I said I wanted to copy the data from that CSV file into my training data set. I don't want to do that this time because I don't care if the card list gets updated later. In fact, I want that. If the card list updates, I want it to automatically update and add the new cards in. Alright, so I just did a ton of this and then never switched over, so you could actually see me do it in Excel, so I've got to re-record it. So here we go. I'm going to hide PT card list just because we don't need that anymore. And while I'm hiding things, I'm going to hide these three sheets, the bats, pitches, and fields, because I don't need them anymore, and I like keeping my list of sheets down here clean, so it's easy to navigate through them. If I don't need it anymore, I hide it. You can always unhide it if you need to go back to it. So we're going to go to data, get from text or CSV, go to my out of the park install folder, data, and then online data pt card list.csv. So there's a few things I want to do in here. We're going to transform the data. So we're going to, first off, I'm going to remove some values that I'm never going to use. So that's card type through year. Year of birth, actually. We're going to remove those columns. And we're going to go down here and we're going to remove some columns here at the end that I'm never going to use. Everything through by order high, because I'm never going to use those columns while modeling, and I don't want to load that information into the sheet if I don't have to. Also going to remove a lot of this, a lot of the pitch information, so the individual pitches we don't use. So I'm going to remove those, plus ground ball type and velocity and arm slot. I actually do not use those in modeling currently. Since that is not ever used, I'm going to go ahead and pull that out. Just because, again, loading it in is not necessary. And then I'm going to go to highlight bats and throws and replace some values. So actually, before we do that, go back to change type. And data type is text. Yes. Place current. Oh, dang it. Never mind. I messed up. It highlighted the rows that were in that spot originally, so we need to go back and do it for the correct rows. And just replace current rather than insert a new step. Saves time. And now we scroll back over here, and these are text columns. So we highlight them, replace values. One is R. 2 is L. And 3 is S. There's not going to be a 3 in throws, but R and 1 and 2 are both the same for it, so rather than just re-highlight bats, just do it all there. I wish you could do that all in one step, but you can't. And then we're going to do a filter on card value, and the number filter is less than or equal to 59. So this is going to be where you want to change what your card value is depending on what format you're modeling. Since we're modeling iron, we're going to keep only the cards that are in the iron ratings. And this is everything I need to do here. So I'm going to close, I'm going to actually rename this current card list and rename this PT card CSV, just so I keep straight which list is in which sheet. I'm going to close and load, and it's going to automatically load this into a new sheet for me. And then we're going to immediately turn around and create a new sheet from this. And we're going to create from data from table / range, which is going to pull the table that we just created. We're going to call this pitcher model. And I'm going to remove bats and position, bats, pitcher roll through bunt for hit, and then again fold through the end, which we do not need for this model. We're going to remove those columns. That has everything we need. And then we're going to come to position and unselect all and select only number 1 for pitchers. That's going to give us only our iron pitchers and only the ratings we need for modeling. Let's close and load, and then I'm going to close my queries and connectors. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to view. I'm going to freeze panes, and it's going to be, I'm going to freeze first column and top row. Oh no, I can only freeze one of them that way. I'm going to come highlight this cell B2 and then unfreeze panes and freeze panes. And what that will do, that's going to freeze everything to the left and above this cell here. So I can scroll down, and it's always going to keep this title at the top. I can scroll over, and it's always going to keep the player name over here. That is helpful for when you are checking things and you need to check a player name, always having that over there. What you can also do is you can also freeze everything to the left of what arm they throw if you want to see their arm, you know, what handedness they are for various things as well. So since I'm just modeling right now, I don't care about that, so I'm going to freeze just at the name. Now, the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to copy a ton of information over from one of my old sheets. I'm going to copy it over from pictures here. Now, the reason I'm doing this is I don't want to write all this information in. So I'm just going to copy this all over. Don't worry about it. We'll go through all of these columns I'm copying over. We're going to go through them one by one, and we'll talk about them. The next thing, or the first thing we're going to model here is hit by pitch rate. So like I said, we want to account for hit by pitches, but there's no differentiator between how many guys a pitcher hits, how often a guy gets hit by a pitch. Control has nothing to do with hit by pitches. So we're just going to model it at the league average rate. So that is going to be equals. We're going to come over to weights, and that is right here. And we're going to hit F4 to make sure that always copies all the way down. Very important you make this an absolute reference. And then times 500 or whatever plate appearance number or batter's face number you're using. I use 500 for my models, so that's why I use 500 there. You can see it's 2.623 per 500 plate appearances, so that's not nothing. It's definitely pretty important to get in there. It is a very small amount, but a significant amount at the same time. Next up, we're going to model walks. And if you aren't familiar with the order of operations for how an at-bat or a plate appearance ends, let's see. It's hit by pitch, walk, and then together, or relatively together, strikeouts and home runs. So they calculate roughly the same time. We're not sure, or I'm not sure which is first. And then it calculates a ball in play after that. So if it's not any of these, not a walk, if it's not a strike, if it's not a hit by pitch, a walk, a strikeout, or a home run, it's a ball in play. So that's where your BABIP comes in, and then BABIP determines whether it's a hit, and then after that it determines whether it's an extra base hit, and from there it determines whether it's a triple or a double. And I could be wrong on that. That is my understanding of the way the engine calculates outcomes of plate appearances. I could be wrong, but that is my understanding of it, so that is how I model plate appearances. And that is how I model it that way for both pitchers and hitters. So that is why I model walks next. So I've got my list of equations here. This is my list of equations that we calculated last time. And we're going to start with walks. So it is equals 0.2609335 minus 0.0041695 times. Make sure I'm going to get the left, and then plus 0.0000221 times Control V left squared. And that gives us the rate here. So the way I model these is I've got a rate. So that's the percent of plate appearances that end in that outcome. So it's about 6.7% for Zvernik, but Zunija, it's about 12%. And you come over here, you look at the control, that's 82 versus 44. So that kind of lines up. And then I take that number and multiply it by 500 minus the hit by pitch outcome, the hit by pitch number, because it's not quite 500, right? It's 500 minus this number that have already been a hit by pitch. But we need the outcomes here so we can assign values to them to calculate things like, VIP, so we can calculate WOBA, that kind of thing. And then strikeout rate V left. Let me pull my sheet back up. So that is going to equal negative 0.0664647 plus 0.0051503 times stuff minus 0.0000175 times stuff squared. That gives us about 10% on Zvernik and 18% on Zunija, and you can see the stuff here. Yep, you're looking at 36 on Zvernik, 53 on Zunija. We get down to Zambrano, and he's at 23%. And so then for strikeouts here, we're going to equal this rate times, again, 500. Yes, I know, I didn't mean to hit a navigation key. 500 minus hit by pitch minus the 500 outcome, the per 500 outcome for walks as well. In this case, it's going to be about 49 for Zvernik, about 81 for Zunija, 93 for Zambrano. You can see the stuff rating does have quite a bit of an impact on how often a strikeout ends there, or a plate appearance ends in a strikeout. And then home runs is going to be equals 0.531 minus 0.0003 times PHRVL. And that was a linear equation for pitchers for me. I'm missing a 0 here. There we go. That's very important. A 50% home run rate is impossibly unsustainable. So again, for the rate here, we're going to equal. I'm going to cancel out of this. Just going to copy this number, this right here. It's going to be the same one since, to my understanding, home runs and strikeouts are kind of calculated against the same numbers. So it doesn't necessarily calculate strikeouts first. So equals this times, actually, I can just hit paste and there we go. So again, home run prevention, very important. 18, almost 19 home runs for Zunija versus the 12.5 or so for Zvernik, especially since Zunija is not the best at preventing base runners, only 49 control. So then that gives us our ball in play numbers. That is a pretty simple one. We're just going to equals 500 minus hit by pitch, walks, strikeouts, and home runs. Nope, I need to put a parentheses around this, or just subtract them all. But I prefer doing it that way. So then our BABIP, again, easily simple, equals 0.369 times negative 0.0014, nope, minus 0.0014 times p BABIP. And that gets us a BABIP of about 287, 298 here for Zunija. You can see p BABIP has quite a bit of an impact. And you're going to see that even more once you get this equals BABIP times balls in play. And this is also why stuff is very, very important. So even though Zunija gives up hits on balls in play at a decently higher clip, because he's allowing fewer balls in play, 80 fewer balls in play, he's actually giving up fewer hits total. So that's why p BABIP is so important this year, is because the p BABIP it's such a common outcome. 400 or so for Zuvernic, 337 for Zunija. You look at Zambrano, who's got all that stuff, 290 balls in play, and because he's got good p BABIP too, that cuts him down to 77 hits on those balls in play. So now we calculate extra base hits, and like I said in the last episode, for pitchers, we calculate extra base hits and triple rate based on league average numbers, since there's way too much noise to calculate that per pitcher. So that is equals hits in play, that's what HIP stands for here, times weights and extra base hit weight. Again, need to put F4 there so it takes that absolute reference all the way down. And triples is going to be extra base hits times weights, and that is triple rate with, again, an absolute reference there. And there we go. So now we can calculate doubles and singles as well. So doubles is extra base hits minus triples, and singles is hits in play minus extra base hits. And then I do calculate hits and at-bats just very quickly, because I do use them in a few different calculations later on. So hits is home runs plus triples plus doubles plus singles, and at-bats is 500 minus hit by pitch minus walks. And so from here, I need to copy this formula, or to copy it, and we're going to paste it here, and we're going to change Control VL to Control VR. And for almost every rating, it is just a matter of changing VL to VR. There is one rating that is different, and strikeout rate. We could probably just copy this across and then go through and change the numbers. It's something I do occasionally. If I'm not paying attention, I just grab the wrong what do you call it? I grab either the general stuff or stuff VL or stuff VR when I need the other one. So I do that occasionally. Just have to catch it when you do that. It's no sin, just catch your mistakes, that's all. So much faster than retyping everything. So now, we need to calculate the rate that they see overall. And this is very important, because you use your numbers, V left and V right, when you face a right-handed batter or a left-handed batter. But you're not just facing one of them, you're facing both of them at various rates. And since we don't have splits to determine how accurate a batter is, or a batter or a pitcher is in a, against their same-handed or opposite-handed foe, we have to simulate that with these weights. It looks more complex than it is. It's just a simple if statement and two equations based on whether it's a right-handed or left-handed pitcher. So, equals if throws equals R, left-handed walk rate times weights, and that's going to be right-handed pitcher, want that absolute, plus walk rate v right times reference absolute. Then if they're lefty, going to be walk rate left times the left-handed pitcher rate, then absolute reference, plus walk rate v right times this pitcher, weight for left-handed pitchers. And that is going to simulate the total walk rate that a pitcher has in the tournament based on how likely they are to face lefties and righties. This does not account for specialists, unfortunately, who you try to set to face more right-handed or left-handed pitchers. If that's the case, I would recommend just using the V right or V left splits, understanding that you're probably going to face some opposite-handed batters because of the 3-batter minimum. But that is the way I would go about that for specialists, because I don't have a better way to accommodate that. So what I'm going to do, I'm not going to show this all in the video because it's going to take a while. You can see how long that formula took to enter. So we will come back. When we come back, I will have all of these numbers through column BO calculated. So now that I have calculated all of that down to all of those numbers that we can calculate the outcomes, we can now start calculating some of these rate statistics that we are going to calculate for these pitchers. So it says average, on-base percentage, slugging, OPS, WOBA. You can add an against to all those. So, you know, BAA, OPBA, SLGA, OPSA. Average is just hits divided by at-bats. And the only reason I calculate these is because some people still want them, even though I don't use batting average personally. When I'm, looking at models, some people still want them. So because of that, it could still be nice to see. It's still nice to kind of have that sanity check there of the the traditional stats. Now, I do look at on-base percentage quite a bit, personally. It's one of my favorite statistics, because on-base is pretty important. If you're on base, you can score. Do not select AA. That was a mistake. So that is hit by pitch. Sorry. That's going to be a open parentheses hit by pitch plus walk plus hits divided by 500. Again, we're going to copy this over. For these, just delete the VL. And for this, just change, VL to VR. Obviously, slugging's a little more weighting, but the weights are pretty simple. If you don't know the slugging formula, it's 1 times singles plus 2 times doubles plus 3 times triples plus 4 times home runs. All of that's in parentheses over at bats. So again, if you aren't familiar with how to calculate slugging, this looks a lot more intimidating than it actually is. And OPS is just on base plus slugging. And there we go. Now, WOBA is a little more complex. And we haven't calculated WOBA before. So if you aren't familiar with WOBA, basically WOBA tries to assign a run value to various outcomes. Basically saying that when a batter walks, about this many runs score after that walk. So come over here to weights, right? And in this run environment, about 0.73 runs score per inning after that walk. Sorry, I had to fix my WOBA weights here because they were wrong for the caught stealing, and I just caught that. The WOBA weight is just the inverse of this number right here. It's not it's not adjusted at all. Shoutouts again to Fangraphs. This all is available for you. So runs per caught stealing is 2 times run per out plus 0.75, so that is not adjusted. And WOBA looks fairly complex, and it is. But once you kind of understand what it's trying to represent, it becomes a lot easier to understand. It's trying to equally value all outcomes at a plate appearance. Put a walk or a hit by pitch on the same scale as a home run in terms of how many runs it contributes to a team's performance. It's a very long formula, but it is not as scary as it looks. This equals, and you're going to open up parentheses. I'm going to scroll over to left here. That is hit by pitch times hit by pitch weight absolute reference plus walks times walk weight absolute reference plus that's plus, let's see, singles times absolute reference plus doubles times absolute reference. And an absolute reference, what I'm doing there, I'm hitting F4, and that's adding in the dollar signs in front of both the column and row, so that it never tries to move this down or to the left. And plus triples times triple weight absolute reference plus home runs times weights absolute reference. I know it says that the stolen base and caught stealing rates are WOBA weights. They actually are not. And that is divided by at-bats. We're going to open the parentheses again, by the way. At-bats plus walks plus hit by pitch. Unfortunately, I do not have sac flies in there, but I kind of just don't calculate sac flies because they're pretty much uncalculatable. It would be another just standard standard rate for the entire league, and really they don't matter. They're outs. They're slightly productive outs, but they're still outs. And so that gets us the WOBA here. So that is the WOBA against. So you can see, Verner's got a pretty bad WOBA against. 3.2 or 0.320 is the normal WOBA, but the league average WOBA here is 0.34. So, the 0.352, yeah, Zuvernick's not great. Zerpa here a little better than average. Again, we're going to copy these over because, I really do not want to type all of these VLs again. So now that we calculated WOBA, if you go through the WOBA sheet here, you get down here, you calculate WRAA and all that, then you can use that to calculate WAR, or we could do something even sillier. Not sillier, but more complex. This is the base run formula. Is a little bit arcane, but it's very usable, and with pitcher BABIP, it is very much right now the best way to calculate a pitcher's performance, as far as I've found. Seems to be pretty accurate. I'm sure other people are taking different approaches this year. And I'm not saying that reverse engineering batter WAR from there, creating a weighted runs above average, and then kind of reversing the formula used to create WAR for batters, offensive WAR, and then using that as pitcher WAR. Not saying that's not correct, but this is just the way I have been doing it this year. Now, you are going to notice I am going to use I might use a slightly modified version of these numbers. For one thing, C here for pitchers is 3 times innings pitched, and I don't calculate innings pitched at this point, so we can't use that. So we're going to have to create a way to replace that in the calculations. We are going to get there. I will walk you through that, so just know that it's generally going to be this third formula here, but there are going to be some changes to represent that out of the park is not quite the same as what is played in the MLB. Base run A is equal to hits in play plus walks plus hit by pitches. We're going to change this to VR and VR here. And we're just going to remove the references to handedness in this one. All right. Pass me as a fool because he put the 1 there. I'm also a fool, but for different reasons. B is equal to 1.1 times singles plus 2 times doubles plus 3 times triples plus home runs minus 0.6 times hits plus 0.1 walks plus hit by pitch. Again, I really do not want to click all this out again, so we're just going to replace handedness in the VR. I did change C here because I don't think I did it right. I'm going to slightly change C from what I did before, but it's going to make sense either way. It is 500 minus hit by pitch minus walks minus hits. And so then you'll notice I don't calculate D here, even though there is a D here. Well, that's because D is just home runs. What happens is, if you look, I just add home runs instead of having another column that's just referencing the home run cell. So it's equals double parentheses BSRA times BSRB, close parentheses, divided by, open another parentheses, BSRB plus BSRC, close 2 parentheses, plus home runs. All right, so again, we're going to take the BSR here, and we're going to take it divided by the we're going to take it and divide it by the BSR rate. And there we go. So now we do innings pitched divided innings pitched, and that one's pretty easy. It is just outs divided by 3, and outs is 500. Now let's put this in parentheses. 500 minus hit by pitch minus walk minus hits, and all that divided by 3. And so you can see most pitchers pitch around 110 innings pitched per 500 batters they face. It's gonna vary quite a bit in there in terms of, like, it's not exactly at 110. Expected runs allowed is going to be your base runs times, or divided by your innings pitched times 9. From there, we need to get to runs above average. So that is going to be equals weights, league RA9, we're going to absolute reference that, minus runs allowed per 9. And so starting pitching innings per game, because I couldn't reliably model stamina, we're just going to have the same number for each pitcher. We're not going to have the same number for each pitcher. I made a mistake. That is going to be times 1 divided by 1 minus on base percentage. And that gives us, yep, that's what I'm looking for. That gives us the number of batters that don't get out. And that calculates about how many innings they're going to get. And we're going to do the same thing for relief pitchers. So that is relief pitchers batters faced per game. Then we need to do dynamic runs per win. So we're going to come over to Fangraphs again. Again, Fangraphs is amazing. We're going to come to WAR for pitchers really quickly to take a look at the dynamic runs per win. So like it says here, you don't want to use the league average runs per win. You want to use a dynamic run per win based on how the pitcher does. So we're going to calculate this differently for both relievers and starters. We're going to calculate a different DPR, or dynamic runs per win, DPRW. So it is, trying to count here, 5 open parentheses to start as 18 minus starting pitching innings per game. That is one set of parentheses times weights, leagues, runs allowed per 9. And that's another parentheses plus open another parentheses. I'm going to go back over here, and that is starting pitching innings per game times that pitcher's expected runs above average times 9. Close 2 sets of parentheses divided by 18, close parentheses, plus 2, close the last parentheses, minus 1.5. And essentially what that does, we haven't gone over runs per win on the batter side yet. Actually, we may have, hold on, let me check. Yes, we did. So you can see here, we did 1 times 1.5 plus 3. This plus 2 minus 1.5, again, tries to get us back to the fact that you need more than, you need to get across the threshold of how many runs are scored in both wins and losses. And we're just going to copy this over here and replace all the SP with RP. Okay, and you notice that is significantly higher because relievers pitch across many more games, and it's actually much harder for them to accrue wins above replacement, not just because of innings pitched. And then wins per game, so that is wins per game they play above average, right? It's WPGAA, wins per game above average. So per game they start or appear in, how many wins above average do they contribute? and that is the expected runs above average divided by dynamic runs per win. So per start, you're not going to start Zuvernic because he doesn't have the stamina for it, but per start, Zuvernic would add 0.8 wins above average, 0.08 wins above average. And for relievers, I do calculate both the general and per for left and for right, because again, I'm accounting for specialists. Now, how do we convert that to wins above average? Because of the way I do rankings, I do not want relievers to have a wins above average for starting pitchers. So it first checks to see if their stamina is greater than 25. If it's greater than 25, it assumes that they can start. Not that they will start, but they can start. Because generally, if you're over 25 stamina, the game will allow a pitcher to start. That is the best way that I can actually simulate whether a pitcher is going to start or not, because not every pitcher that can start is listed as a starter. So, because I only want to see batters or pitchers who have a stamina greater than 25, I put that if statement in there. So if, wins per game above average for starting pitchers times how many innings they pitch per 500 divided by 9. And then the negative 999 is just for rankings here at the end. Now what we want to do is pretty much the exact same thing for relievers, except we don't need to have the if statement at all, because we don't care. All starting pitchers can be relievers absolutely fine. And then we'll go through it. So rank EQ, that means that we're, I think rank EQ, let me check here. Returns the rank, listed numbers, size relative. If there are more than one has the same rank, the top rank of that set is returned. So that allows for ties, right? And so that's going to take, it's going to rank the individual players, WG or WAASP per 500, and then it's going to compare that to all of them. So that means that row, the just referring to the column refers to the entire column. And so if you look at some of my older models, I have a final column here. You do not need to do this column. This is for me. I do not want to see the top 5 starting pitchers listed as a reliever, because they will always be top relievers, almost always. It's going to show my top relievers, and actually the top reliever is not the top starter is not the top reliever. That is actually kind of surprising. So, but it does show all of them as 999, so they are way down there. Even if you have more than 999 in the set, you're not going to use the 999th player, or you can just go to 9999. So that is how I model pitching, and then obviously sort smallest to largest to see your top pitchers, which in this case, Bruce Hurst, John Means, Rick Helling, Floyd Yeomans, and Charlie Lee are your options. So then you can sort by relievers, you can sort largest, smallest, or you can use the second column I have here that takes those top relievers, that takes those top starters out, and use this one. So that is going to be it for pitchers. Now that you have this done, you can go ahead and build the best pitching staff according to your model. Next time we will do batters, and then we will do fielders after that. So we've got 2 more models to build out to get the final full model for the entire environment, the batter model and the fielding model. So those should be coming out relatively quickly after the pitching video. Thank you everyone for watching this video. Go ahead and click the subscribe button. Leave a comment if you have any questions or have any suggestions, that kind of thing. And like the video as well. Get it going in the YouTube algorithm. Again, this will all be done before the PT25, before Out of the Park 25 releases. And then that way everyone can understand what modelers are doing and kind of understand how we're going about modeling and what the model says, even if you don't want to go through the process of creating a model yourself. Or if you want to go through the process of creating a model yourself, you can go ahead and do it this way. But the reason I'm using this method is because it is the most accessible method, even if it's only 90 to 95% as as efficient as a proper model. I don't have anything else here, so again, follow me on Twitch, twitch.tv/IRACTHS to see more out of the park content, especially as we get closer to and after the 25 release. And other than that, I will see you all next time.